Hi, welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shahada.
How you doing, Muffin?
I'm fine. I'm tired. I tested for COVID twice because I was like, why am I so tired? And then I don't have it, but I'm also like pre-period and this happens every month. I go really tired. I think I have COVID. I don't have COVID. And then I realize it's period related.
I think it's so funny that pretty much every bad feeling I've had, I was like, it's COVID. Like it's like the new thing to blame where I feel like it used to be like flu season or it was the winter or I feel like there's always some culprit and then you realize that it's just you and this is your personality. Like you just want to be like, this is what it's like to be older than 30.
I'm just
You're like, oh, I'm
old
not 28 anymore.
yeah, just a grumpy old person. That's all. I am seeing it happening. Yeah.
I worked out yesterday. I hadn't worked out in like over 2 weeks between like traveling and just being sad or whatever. I kept signing up and then within 2 hours being like, I'm still crying. What am I doing? like just deleting every time I was going to leave the house. So I didn't work out for like over 2 weeks. And I went to a class last night, did not want to go. Like genuinely had I no reason not to. Like my spots weren't until later. So I went and I'm like talking to the coach and I was just like, he's like, how you doing? I was like, not great. And he goes, you seem off. And then I'm like lifting a weight and he's like, you could do heavier. And I was like, probably could. I don't know. I'm not doing. He's like, you don't seem well. Like it was like one of those conversations. And I was like, the whole time I felt weak and I didn't want to be there. And I kept being like, that's how you're going to feel until you get stronger. And that's almost how I feel like every day where I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I hate my life. Everything sucks. And I was like, you're going to feel this way until you get stronger. Whatever that might be, whether that's like socializing or like getting something off your to-do list. I think I feel like my to-do list is like a man that's like literally standing over me and like he's not even saying anything. He's just like anytime I like look at my phone or like think about turning on the TV, he's just like
Oh my God, your to-do list is my dad.
Mr. Shahada, let me go. I'm trying. But I feel like this like almost like a physical weight. Like I definitely know that you lose muscle very quickly, so I do feel like I'm probably physically weak, but yesterday I just felt so like drained for like psychological reasons.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like I guess that's where I've been too, because that's why I was like, let's do an episode on burnout. I'm just like, I don't have anything left. Ugh. But
I can't figure out if it's like because I don't feel like this is an unusual amount of work. I mean, maybe in some ways, but like, is it a lack of practice because we didn't do anything for like a year? Is it, in my case, I feel like I'm doing the same amount of work and making a third of the money? Like, you know what I mean? Is it not reaping the benefits for how much I'm working? Or is it the fact that I don't want to be doing this work? Like, I can't actually figure out why, like, I
I
am dragging my feet in everything I do.
yeah, I don't think it's that you don't want to be doing the work. I do think it's a motivation problem. It's if you're not getting the compensation you used to get, if you're not getting any recognition for what you're doing, if you're not, and it's just like I don't know, for 2 years we had an excuse for things not to be happening. And like we just got through it and we were proud of ourselves for figuring a way out, like figuring it out in the lockdown. But things are opening up, but they're not like opening up back to what they were. And so it's just like we don't have the time or the excuse or the compensation or the recognition. So like there's no motivation. I don't know. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Absolutely. Like I was walking to my gig yesterday because it wasn't too far for me. And I was like, my legs were heavy and I was like, I don't want to go. And as soon as I was there, it was fine. Like a comic that I'm friends with was on stage and he was super funny and I really enjoyed watching his new stuff. I did a bunch of new stuff and I felt good about it. I talked to a couple of comics I hadn't seen in a while. And then I walked home and I was like talking to a friend of mine I hadn't talked to in a while. And it was like it it's like it's almost like what our topic is. Like once I'm in it, I'm fine. But the build up to almost everything from like sending an email to like booking flights to writing is like, it's funny, a bunch of our questions, like let's get personal questions, are all like would you rathers. And like I was getting really into would you rather questions because I think they're really funny. But in my head, I feel like every day is like, would you rather fail at life or like try a little? And I'm like, fail at life, like no contest. Like I'm just like ready to fail. Like I don't know. I don't know if I'm in like a normal funk or like a depression funk.
It's a funk.
Yeah, it's a funk. So let's start with what we know. I'm in a funk.
We're a funky bunch right now.
We're funky.
Depending on how long it lasts. But I would say because like you do pick up when you're actually in something. So I don't want to call it a normal funk, but a depressive funk might be way worse.
Yeah. And I felt I'm showering, and that's
right.
When I stop showering, that's way
we got an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm in a funk, and I don't want to call it like, oh, it's just a normal funk. I've been in normal funks. This is worse than a normal funk, but I don't think it's so bad that I can't do anything. It takes everything in me to do it. I had a show yesterday, and I was just like I was in the same, but I'm always like that before a gig. I'm like, I don't want to do it. But like, I was really fucking tired, and I tested for COVID, hoping I had it so I wouldn't have to do the show. And then in the show was fun. It was fun, and people knew they were seeing me, so it wasn't like a club gig where it was just like just a bunch of random. It was like my show, and it was fun. Yeah. And I should have been excited.
That's so funny, like especially because we are talking about social anxiety today. We're like avoiding our own birthday party. Like we're just like, oh, I don't have to go and celebrate myself.
If I don't throw birthday parties, because I know I'm gonna be the first one who wants to leave.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend months ago, and we were just talking because I was supposed to have a housewarming party, but then Omicron happened, and then Tots died, and I was like, we're gonna put this off. But she was telling me like the last time she had like a kind of, I think it was like a Christmas party or something. They had it. No, she's Jewish. It wasn't a Christmas party. It was some kind of party, but she had like some kind of house party years ago, and she's like that moment when you and your husband are done, and there's always like one straggler that's just not catching the hint. Like it seems like everybody in a room starts to like, without even looking at a watch, just goes, this is enough fun. We've had enough fun. And they all just start to get their coats and leave. And this girl, like, didn't matter what hints we were giving her, what we were saying. I'm like putting on PJs. I could not get the hint. Till finally we were just like, we called you a cab. Like we called you a cab. Like just you have to leave. like it went from like passive aggressive to just like aggressive. Like who raised you that you don't get it, that you're the only one here, and we don't want you here anymore.
I've been in that situation. Also, when I was little, my parents used to have dinner parties and go to dinner parties, and it always worked out like this. Like if we went to a dinner party, it would be wrapping up, and then we would start to leave. And then the host inevitably would be like, no, stay, like have another cup of tea, like they have to do that as part of a formality. Obviously leave, but no, stay.
I love those types of things where you're just like, but don't actually stay.
Yeah.
You'll ruin the friendship. Because I love that. I love the story. And then they stayed.
Can you believe that? How many cups of tea do you want? It's 10 p.m. But then like we would host, and my dad would always do this like we'd sit around a circle. My dad always do this like hands on his knee thing, like slapping his knees, just like as I think it's time for you all to go, and so people would get up to leave.
But I love that. I absolutely love that. But it's like, how do people not get the signs? Like, and that's, I think, as two very like socially aware, like very observant, the more I learn about the word empath, it's really just somebody that was just like had such a horrific childhood that they can't relax. But it is like, I'm taking in
definition.
You know what I mean? Because it's true. Like I remember people telling me I was an empath, and I was like, oh, that seems like nice. And then you learn more, and you're just like, oh man, you are fucked. Like,
an empath is like just being overly diligent because like when you were little, your parents' mood can shift so suddenly that you had to be aware.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
now
And I'm
you're
like,
overly aware of everyone's moods.
oh my God, I'm like my child was like constantly dodging like things being thrown at me. And now I'm just like, somebody looks slightly sad and it's like the same as a plate. I'm like, why are you sad? Like, what's going on? Was it me? Do you need me to clean the bathroom? Just, it's so funny to me to see, like, I feel like I pick up on signs that aren't there. And then there's people that are picking up on like blatant, you need to leave, or I don't like you signs. Like we've talked about it before, where like you're talking to somebody and you're done and you're like, or you have to just go, like you have to go to another spot and you're like, all right, well, and your body, you're like shoulder, you're like literally facing the door, and they're just like, and then they come in front of you and you're like, no, 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 my body was leaving. I didn't forget how to make eye contact.
I haven't looked at you in 20 minutes. Will you shut the fuck up? Shut up.
Which is funny because like with friendship, it's almost different because I can see when you're bored. And I was like, well, she just has to take it because she's my friend. I know when you're checked out, and I'm just like, after the story, I'll let her go. Crap, we should get into announcements.
Okay.
Thank you to all our Patreons, everybody that supports us. We are beyond grateful. If you do not know, you can get stickers, you can get bonus episodes, both weekly and monthly. You can control our Googles, you can become a Google guest, get free access to albums and specials, and signed copy of my book. There's tons of benefits, and you can support us by going to patreon.com/2nondoctors, full word doctors.
Yeah, and you can follow us on the socials. We're on Instagram at 2nondrs. It's the number 2 DRS. I've done this backwards. And then Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at 2nondoctors. It's the number 2 full word doctors. And if you have time and you're feeling kind, please leave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, because it helps us. We feel good. We share it. We share it on our socials. It makes us happy. And on Spotify, I think you can leave us. I haven't checked it. I wonder if we have some ratings there, but you can leave us a rating on Spotify.
Personal touring stuff. This month I will be on Valentine's Day. I'll be in Raleigh. The day after Valentine's Day, I am in Charlotte, and then I'm off to Europe. I think my tour is solidified now. I will be in Utrecht, Antwerp, Prague, Vienna, Berlin, London. That's all in March. I'm pretty sure I have most ticket links up on my website. And then when I come back, March and April, I'm in Syracuse and Boston.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for you to be here. And then when do we have a show together in London at the Bill Murray?
Oh yeah, so the London show is me and Maria, and that is March 13th at Bill Murray Comedy Club. Is that what it's called?
The Bill Murray.
Just the Bill Murray. Okay. Yeah, we did it. Okay.
And I'll be doing another work in progress at Top Secret Comedy Club. Not until April 20th. It's like gonna be 420, yo.
No, do it. I'm gonna have so many non-pot jokes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write a bunch of pot jokes for that.
Just become a comedian. You're not. Be like, guys, remember?
Why not? I did me. Let's try something else.
Yeah. Be a character. I'm a fan. Fan mail. Okay. This is from Dmitry, and he's mostly bringing up actually something I say in my stand-up about dyslexia, but it actually applies to what we're later talking about in our topic. So I thought it would be a good read. So he talks about your dyslexia. You have to improve your texting game. Sorry if I'm remembering that wrong. It's in one of your specials. I had a thought. I am like the exact opposite. When I text with people, I'm witty, I'm quick, I'm funny. I think I'm funny. But when I'm talking with someone in person, I feel very boring and restricted by my speech impediment. I have a stutter. Some days it's okay, and I can come across like someone who is just nervous and needs more time to finish a sentence. But other days it's a complete disaster. In any case, to avoid the disaster and keep it safe, I try to be frank and only use words I know I can pronounce. Joking does not always work if you don't have good timing, right? Because if you get stuck on a word, I think I think you mentioned this is also a struggle with with you on the subway and not having internet access. Another thing you talked about on the podcast is that if you are sad or tired, your dyslexia gets worse. And I think that's with all psychological issues. When I am tired after a long meeting, I can feel my ability to finish words or start them properly dwindling. And then he says, sorry about my cat. And then I don't know. I there's a couple of reasons I wanted to read this. First one is there is a comedian. He opened for me for a while that has a stutter. Crap. He was a DC guy. He moved to New York for a little bit. I don't even know if he's still here because he used to open for me for a while, but he's so funny and so good. And like what I actually really appreciated about him is that he would like mention that he has a stutter, let people know, and then never talk about it again. So it wasn't like his thing. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, with comedy, I get that you have to like kind of say what's going on but like I hate when it becomes people's personality. Like this is, so he would basically be like, I have a stutter, it's going to come up. And he would get stuck on words in the middle of his act. And honestly, because he had a joke about it and because he let people know, it became a part of it, but it didn't also like it added to his jokes as opposed to it was the butt of the joke, if that makes sense. That being said, I wonder if there is something about taking ownership of it. Like I, as somebody that's dyslexic, I felt my entire life being embarrassed. I still struggle with not wanting people to see my notes or my writing. Like I've been signing books at live shows. And did I tell you this? So I was in Seattle and I'll ask people, I'll be like, who should I make the book out to? Should I make it out to a cat? What's your cat's name? And so this woman goes, oh, this is for my friend. Her cat's name is Linguini. And I was like, how do you spell that? And she goes, oh, I don't know. And I was like, oh. And so then she looks at the person. She's like, do you know how to spell linguini? He's like, I don't know. And then somebody over there starts spelling it. And another person starts spelling it. I was like, hey, one person spell linguini for the whole class. And like, literally I'm having this line of people like help me spell. And I've just gotten, and I'll do that now, like where I'm just like, you have to spell out your name. I'm not going to guess it. This is permanent marker. And I've just kind of taken ownership of the fact, or like I'll completely mess it up. And I was like, that's a dyslexic gift right there in your book. That's an original misspelling of appreciate right there. But I have more and more in meetings, talking to people, whether it's a fan or on a larger thing, just being like, this is what it is. So that when it comes up, I don't have to like, they're not weirded out about it. They don't have to make an excuse. I could see how it could be annoying having a stutter to constantly have to like preemptively say that. Cause I don't always have to do that with dyslexia because spelling only comes up some of the time. But I have to say taking ownership of it and just letting people know this is what it is has given me some freedom to just be kind of sloppy and not have to worry, as opposed to like my joke is in my act where I'm texting a boy and I'm literally frantically asking strangers how to spell because I want to be as charming, as smart as possible. And I need Siri to pretty much help me with that. So I don't know if that's a real solution. And I can understand how it's annoying to constantly have to justify your existence in some way. You know what I mean? Like be like, hey, just so you know, might take me longer. But the other thing is that what did he talk about? Being more like psychological things being worse when you're tired. I don't know if you've I think everybody kind of experiences that when you're tired, like my brain just shuts down and anything that was already difficult is like 10 times more difficult. So my
misophonia gets really bad when I'm tired.
I could see that. Like it's like that because I feel like we build up all these tools of being slightly more tolerable and understanding, and then when I'm tired, it all goes out the door. My patience goes out the door. My ability to retrieve things goes out the door. Like I said, my spelling. It's so funny how just exhaustion and all of a sudden everything that I built up over 10 years is gone. Anyway, we appreciate you writing in, Dmitry, and our whole episode is on social anxiety, which you kind of talk about, which hopefully that'll be helpful as well.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dmitry. Googles?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll try. Because I sort of half Googled it and I was like, yeah, and then I forgot to read the rest. But I keep biting the inside of my lip and it keeps hurting.
Like when talking, or like, ooh,
yeah.
I can see that even on Zoom. That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, I've never had a problem eating before. like with my, I know where my lip is generally.
Yeah.
And I bit it once, and I don't know if because it was swollen, then I just kept biting it.
Because it's almost like puffier. It's like bigger.
Yeah, and I was like, God damn, it hurts so bad. But I was like, why do I keep biting the inside of my lip? Honestly, I didn't really think that like the net would have an answer, but it did. It said, I don't know if this is actually the case, but I have noticed that I have like a crooked jaw, like smile, like it says, okay, so it could be a misaligned bite, malocclusion, or even TMJ, temporomandibular joint disorder. Sometimes I feel like science
Bellor joint disorder. I didn't know.
yeah. Science is this like elite club that no one can get into unless they have the in. I don't know, just like what kind of fucking word is that? Temporomandibular. Fuck off. TMJ for all you idiots. A misaligned bite poses a serious problem because it can damage your teeth. When a person with a good bite chews food, the pressure of their bite distributes evenly across all of their teeth. A misaligned bite puts more pressure on fewer teeth. There was a better answer for this.
Also, like, way to shame you, a person with a good bite.
I know, a normal bite.
A normal bite. With your shitty bites. And you're like, what?
Okay, do you know what? This Google's it's inconclusive, but basically it's saying your mouth is crooked. But I think I keep biting it because I bit it initially, and then it like kind of swell up a little bit, and then I keep biting it, and it's just never going to go away now.
I understand that visually looking at you is not a scientific analysis, but I don't see you don't seem misaligned. Like, I get that it's like it can be very slight, and if you do that,
it's slight, but it's there. I notice it.
Did you get Invisalign yet?
Not yet. It's coming, but I've never felt more justified in my decision.
yeah. But I wonder if that's like a question you can ask, because don't you do a mold? Like, you have to like.
Yeah, and it didn't fit. Like, she had to keep doing it. She's like, I can't get this mold, and I'm like, there's something wrong with me. I think everything's wrong with me. Yeah, and I'll bring it up when I go to get them. I'll say, I have a bite that's crooked, and she'll go, don't you worry about a thing.
Yeah, we got you. There are people that like they have to like break their jaws and like
no, you're kidding.
Yeah, I mean, that's like clearly severe, and that's not the case at all. But there are people that like it is that severe that that's what they do, is they break your jaw and then put it back.
Oh, I can't. Can you imagine having your jaw broken and then?
Oh no, it sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
While it was broken, I'd be like, can I try eating things whole? Like a steak. Can I
be like the guy in those old 80s toothpaste commercials where your whole mouth opens up and then you just brush your teeth? You're like, there's a couple of things I need to do before you put me back together. Can you record this?
This has got to go to TikTok immediately.
I'm gonna go viral. I literally am a snake. Great Google, Maria. I love it.
Thank you.
Mine is about my sister. So I was staying with Emily in LA. We're about to go literally to a flea market in the morning. And I just hear, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I was like, yeah. And then you see Mike be like, oh my God. Her husband is like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, guys, you can't just be yelling, oh my God. She goes, Lizzie, and she shows me, and she's bleeding in her eye.
What?
Like, literally, if you lift, like, she wouldn't have seen it. If you look dead on, you wouldn't have seen it, but she was putting on makeup. So she was putting on mascara. And when she looked up, it was like blood in her eye.
Coming from the top and like dripping down, or what do you mean?
It wasn't dripping down. Think of it almost like, almost felt like a sticker, like it was like it was
Ugh.
like a little circle. It was bloody and it was like right up here, and it was like this circle, but it was very
That's
like intense.
horrific.
So I know a couple of friends that have had a blood vessel burst, but I was like, the first thing we always do, as you know, is we call my mom. So we call my mom and we send a picture, and she's like, well, it seems like you've had a blood vessel burst, does it hurt? And she goes, it doesn't hurt. She's like, I wouldn't even have known about it if I literally wasn't lifting up my eye and putting on mascara. So we do a little bit of research.
Sorry, I love how great Mike was in that situation, her husband. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, like she's like, helpful. Oh no, my face. And he's like, oh no, your face. Like
he just runs and like goes through a wall with that body, like of the body.
Yeah. And he's just like, I'm out of here. So she said it didn't hurt. So then we like look it up, and it's like so basically my question is, why do vessels in your eyes burst? Because it's kind of slightly common, but it's like technically not a big deal. So they say that the exact cause of subconjunctival hemorrhage,
fucking science.
Yeah, not helpful. It's almost like lawyer speak, where like the whole purpose of having it be in that is so that you need lawyers, and you're like, you could just have documents that say like, don't take my shit or I'll sue. Like,
yeah,
I don't know why it has to be.
I played Operation when I was a kid. I could do this if I just knew how to say the words.
Look at this podcast. Okay. Is currently, so they say it's currently unknown. However, sudden increases in blood pressure from violent coughing, powerful sneezing, heavy lifting, or even intense laughing may generate enough force to cause like a small burst in your eye. And so we're looking at that, and Em's like, I haven't done any of those things. I was like, you do laugh a lot, but like, I don't see, like, I mean, I'm there, so maybe I caused it. But that's such a like man thing to say.
Full of yourself.
I probably caused your eyes to burst, just because I'm so funny. Like, it's like a warning when people come to see me, your eyes might burst.
You may get a UTI, and we don't know.
Shit's crazy. I'm so funny, it's crazy. But she literally was like, none of this stuff happened. Like, I wasn't having a coughing fit or whatever. So it just, and like, I don't know. So it freaked me out. I'll be that clear. And what sucks about it is, so my mom just said kept monitoring it, but basically it was up here, and then it just slowly started to come down. So like, you couldn't, for 2 days, you couldn't see, if she looked at you straight on, you couldn't tell. And then by the time she went back to work on Monday, she was like, I think I might have to tell people, because it's like literally blood in her eyes. Like, yeah, but it goes away on its own. It's like technically not a big deal.
I've had blood vessels burst in my eye before, but never dripping within the eye. Like,
really? Did something happen to make it burst?
I don't know. No, because sometimes you just look in the mirror and you're like, what the fuck? My eye's all red. And it just burst. But what it does is make your eye red. It doesn't fucking like.
It almost looks like a baby gunshot. Like, you know what I mean? So it was like bright red and circular. It looked like a baby gunshot. And then as the days went by, and also it started to get yellow, and Emily looked up that means it's healing. Like, it's technically almost like a bruise. But yeah, as the days went on, it was funny. Like a horror film.
A baby gunshot is what you thought of, and I was thinking like how Jesus wore a crown of thorns, and then there would be like dripping blood from that. That's what I thought of.
We were raised differently.
You and the mafia, and me at church.
Leave the baby gun. Take the cannolis. Okay, let's get personal. Like I said, I'm in a lot of would you rather, so get ready.
Okay.
Would you rather always be 10 minutes late or 20 minutes early?
20 minutes early, hands down. And yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I forgot who I was talking to.
Yeah. It was also like, that's my life. I have so much anxiety. Like, to not be 20 minutes early is to like make me lose my brain.
I'm the same. I get to sets 20 minutes early, meetings 20 minutes early, everything. I'll walk around the area. I have to get to where I'm going, and then I can relax. But
I especially driving to a gig, I always look up a coffee shop nearby, because I know unless I hit horrible traffic, which in my mind, I'm probably going to hit horrible traffic, my backup is, can I then switch it to a coffee shop? And then I'm usually there for like an hour, because a couple of things, especially with comedy. So like with comedy, you don't even have to be good. You just have to be on time and you get paid. Like it really is like eventually if you're constantly bad, you'll stop getting gigs. But to bomb doesn't mean you'll never work again. To not show up on time actually does. So like I was telling my dad the other day, just being frustrated, I was just like if I so technically you should be at least 15 minutes before your spot time. When you're doing spots in the city, when you're headlining, it's different. But like in the city, you should try to be at least 10, 15 minutes there beforehand, just so people aren't stressing and blah, blah, blah. So if I'm not going to be 10 minutes early, I call, I go, hey, trains are backed up. I don't know what's going on. I'll be there 5 minutes early or like exactly on time. Or if I think I'm going to be late, I give them the biggest heads up. I go, hey, I might be late. I'm not sure. I'll update you. And then sometimes I'm on time. Like I'm fine. But like I get so stressed. But I had a booker like actually thank me. She's like the fact that you reach out to the manager and let people know like it is appreciated. And I was like, thank you, because like I have to do it because I cannot be somebody that is late. And when I am late, even though I've left early and it's not my problem, like it's not my fault or whatever, I still like it's all on like the fact that the train's not running on time is my fault in my brain. Like I was like, you knew you should have left 45 minutes early instead of 20 minutes early.
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100% in communication with them if I feel like I don't want to stress anyone out and I don't want them to be like, God damn it, that Maria, like I want to be easy to work with. But just even like, I mean, like you have friends who are just constantly late. I'm taking this class and there are a couple people who are late and the teacher's like, oh, well, they're coming from far. But even still, like, I'm like, well, then adjust.
Then
like
you factor in.
Fuck, if you're coming from far, it's not like, I mean, I'm still 45 minutes away, even if it's in the same city. I figure it out because I'm like, oh, if it's 45 minutes, I'll leave myself an extra 15 minutes because I'm short. And I just know how to like get there on like early. And these people show up like 20 minutes late. And the teacher's nice. And she was like, I get it. And I'm like, I don't get that mentality at all.
I get the first time because there's you know what I mean? You don't realize there's construction on that road, or, you start to learn that train never shows up on time, or even in the city, like there's less C trains. There's some train that there's less of. I think there was a fire on the C train like 10 years ago. And like the way the city works is like, we just never
put another one in.
Yeah. They're like, that's like $1 million. And this is New York City. Like you can walk.
There's like 40 C train cars just sitting there for 10 years. All these people are like, when is this thing going to move?
Jesus. So in general, you start to learn without whatever trip that is, what happens. That light is fucking takes forever. And if you miss it, it adds 10 minutes. Like, whatever. So I get the first time being late, but eventually if you're going somewhere every day or twice a week, if you don't adjust, that's on you, man. And what is kind of funny is, so 2 apartments ago, when I was living with Chris and Carmen, we were right outside the train, like literally, like you could like ring our doorbell from the platform. We were right outside the train. And it was the best because even though we were super deep into Brooklyn, like, especially as a woman not walking late at night, it was awesome. You just get off the train and you're in the apartment building. Yeah. It was the best. Even though it was the worst apartment. And then we moved to a place where it was pretty much a 10 to 15 minute walk to whatever train. It was more train options and I liked the area better, but it was this long walk. And for like 3 months, I was 10 minutes late to everything. And I hated it. I like just mentally could not adjust that I was no longer outside the train. And it took a while to like adjust that. But the truth of the matter is like, and we'll kind of talk about it in the topic, I want to be perceived as reliable, and anything that would make me seem unreliable causes me so much anxiety. Mm-hmm. And that's why, like, if I say I'm going to call you back and I forget to call you back, I will take it so harshly, where I'll be like, hey, I'm so sorry. My day got away from me and I didn't write it down. And you'll be like, dude, it's fine. And I'll be like, it's not fine. I always call people back.
It's not fine. I would never say, dude, it's fine. I remember when I was going through my breakup with my fiance and you were just like at a farm fucking partying.
I had bad service and there were chickens.
No, but I know what you mean. Like, because my dad is so punctual. Like when I was a teenager, if he'd pick me up from an event I was at or somebody's house, if he said he was picking me up at 11, he would be there at 10:59. And he was so punctual that if it was ever 11:01, I was worried.
Yeah. My dad's dead.
Yeah.
He's never late. And they're like, it's a minute. You're like, he's
You
never
don't understand.
late.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so Prakash, he's not as bad anymore, but for most of our friendship, he was always 10 minutes late. And I actually saw it as like a sign that he didn't care about me. I even had an ex-boyfriend that was always late. And it was so hard for me not to perceive it as I don't care. And then you start to get to know people, both my ex at the time and Prakash, and you're like, Prakash is always like, he just realizes he wants a cigarette right when it's time to leave. That's just who he is. So I started showing up 10 minutes late, like planning it. So I planned to be there 10 minutes late,
Yeah.
and it like fixed everything. Or the fact that when I'm meeting Prakash, I don't rush the same way I do. Like I there's a casualness to meeting Prakash because I know he's being casual.
I get that, because I had a friend that was habitually late, like 20 minutes, half hour. Like she was really bad about being late. And I eventually had to adjust my expectations of when we were actually hanging out versus when we were said we were hanging out. But at the same time, you get a little resentful. Like, why am I doing all the adjusting? Is it just because I'm so uptight that I care too much about when you show up? Or like, why am I making this work instead of you?
I agree. I agree with that. I think when you care about somebody, when it's like somebody I like, you talk about it, and if they just can't adjust because that's who they are, I think I relax it a little bit, and then you just start lying. You know what I mean? We're like, we're meeting at 3:30, knowing the thing starts at 4 or whatever. And also when you know the reason that they're always late, like whether it's ADD or, and don't get me wrong, I feel like I have a lot of the same issues my friends do, and I just compensate for it. So it does get a little frustrating where you're like, I make the adjustment, you're 40, why can't you make you know what I mean? Like, you're not 16 and it's your first time with a job, like how is this possible? But if this habit is evenly distributed throughout their life, they're late meeting their husband, they're late going to their job, they're late for everything, and it's not personal, I'm like, that's Ashley. Like, I can't, she's not going to change, it's who she is. If this is the only thing that bothers me about Ashley, this is pretty good. And so that's where the relaxation is. Now, if it's she's constantly late, she doesn't return my phone calls, she's not nice to me, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
then you're like, I don't think I like her. But when it's just this, to me, it's a quirk if it's the only thing that's their problem. And like I said, when you start to learn their routines, like knowing that Prakash is probably just smoking a cigarette and he doesn't, and like it's an addictive mismanagement of his time, or my friend Ashley is trying to cram in 80 things into a day and she doesn't understand that she can't do all this in a day, like that's where it goes away. But when it really is like, I don't care about you, or my time is more important, that's when you're just like, go fuck yourself.
But that's what I think it was like when the friend that was 20-30 minutes late, because I don't think she was actually like doing anything. She just kind of goes when she feels like going, and it did feel like my time is more important than your time.
Well, fuck her.
Well, we're not friends anymore, but like, I don't mean, it's not because of that. It's just, yeah, I mean, I get that.
Topic?
Yes.
I really feel like I cultivated everything to be what our topic is. I'm really there's like a seamlessness, which is, it's social anxiety. That's our topic. I was just like, everything will be about some kind of anxiety this week.
That's hilarious that you think that we just never otherwise talk about anxiety. That's all we talk about.
No, all we talk about is anxiety. But I felt like I picked certain fan mail and let's get I was just like, everything's anxiety. What's interesting is, do you think you have social anxiety?
I was trying to figure that out. I don't think I have it as bad as, I don't know. I think that I have certain aspects of social anxiety that they're definitely there. And I think it's kind of there, but I think that about everything. I kind of have a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Also, I think what's difficult about this is we definitely have anxiety. And how do you completely differentiate just general anxiety with everything you do, and the fact that we have a very social life because of our profession, and then specific social anxiety? I think, and I was trying to look for it, and I don't know if we kind of maybe talked about it a little bit with phobias, because they do technically call this like a social phobia, like that's another word for social anxiety disorder. But my issues have morphed a little bit. They're not as bad, but mine was crowds, like concerts, large gatherings. I have a real issue being like a tiny person among a lot of people. And I would have a lot of like going to concerts when I was a teenager, being at like big events. Like we would go to these like family things and it would be like hundreds of people. And I would find a corner and I would just sit in a corner. And I realized, say it again.
I can't do crowds. I can't, I'm too short for that. We'll get trampled. It's too likely.
That's actually how I feel. I really don't like being like, this is how it feels. It's just like people hovering over me. And then first of all, like this is, I'm not looking up. Like I don't know why I know so many giraffe people, but like I'm constantly looking up. I feel like a child, even, especially when I was a child, but even more so being the same age as everybody and still feeling like a child. Maybe I should stop wearing a backpack, but still, I just feel like immediately like I don't belong. And then I don't think it's claustrophobia, but I do immediately just get very like, I hate this. And I need to like get by a wall. I'll sit in a chair. When I was younger, I would always like read a book. And that was a way of me taking myself out of this. Like I wasn't there anymore. I was reading a book. It's actually one of the reasons I feel like I'm fine with New York City in the subway, because I'm constantly reading or doing something that I'm not on a crowded train. I'm reading a book in a cafe. How
many times have I got hit in the face with someone's backpack because they turned too quickly? Like when I was right behind them in the subway on the stairs or something.
Dude, I have a whole end of a joke about being like, how can you not feel that you're hitting something? Like it's how is like constantly being hit in the head with backpacks. And you're just like, how do you not know? Whatever. It just
with me screaming and shaking my fist at you.
Yeah. And they're like looking above. They're like, I feel like someone's shouting.
I feel like we're so similar that like I could just picture us having met because like a crowd of legs parted. That again. Like a crowd of people parted.
Yeah. So basically the anxiety, social anxiety, it's an extreme fear of social settings. And people have trouble talking to people, meeting new people, attending gatherings. There's a fear of being judged or scrutinized by others. And this is what's interesting is like, they say you may understand the fears are irrational and unreasonable, but you just feel powerless over it. And I think that's what always was a struggle for me, is like, I would not go to a lot of social stuff fully knowing that it'll be fine. Even if it didn't go well, it not going well would be nobody talks to me at the party, or like I feel bored or like I don't have friends. But like it was never like fucking Carrie where somebody's gonna dump blood on me or something. Like it was like, you know what I mean? Like my anxiety wasn't that like I was gonna be bullied. My anxiety was like, nobody's gonna care that I'm there, and it's gonna be, and I'm going to be awkward. Yeah. Or I'm going to try to talk to somebody and they're going to do that typical, like fucking, you know, that fucking comic thing where you're like, hey, and they're like, hey, and then they see somebody like more famous or better. And they're like, and they like just push you aside. And you're just like, oh, sorry, I didn't know Tracy Morgan was here. Like, you're just like, cool.
Yeah. Parties are hard. I always find the food, and I think in college, like, going to bars, I would play pool to kind of deal with, like, I don't want to just be standing around like trying to talk to people. So I'd go play pool. But I think like when I waited tables, I'd get a lot of anxiety every time somebody walked into the restaurant. Like every single time people walked in, I'd be like, oh my God, why? But it wasn't because I didn't want to work. I just didn't want to, now I have to talk to them and make eye contact and smile, and it all like was so hard for me.
Like, yeah, like every time you talk is like a test.
Yeah.
And you're just like, is it? Yeah.
Sorry. Half the time it was a test because you're working in a restaurant where they had mystery shoppers. So you don't know when you're being mystery shopped, and you're like, am I doing everything right? And then you're too robotic, and then you're trying to be. And I remember I was waiting on a table and I was being overly doting because my manager was there and they were being like, well, their water glasses are less than halfway full. You need to go fill those. And so it's like, I was paying a lot of attention to this table because I had someone breathing down my neck about it. And then I remember them going, I feel really rushed. Do you feel rushed? And like her friend was like, I feel rushed. And like just trying to tell me that I was like, okay, go fuck yourselves. But yeah, my point is every time the whole time I worked in the hospitality industry, which was 10 years, every time I met anyone was a stressful fucking event. I notice I don't make a lot of eye contact, like my head's always down and I have to be like, have you looked at anyone? I have no idea what people look like. um, and then what was the other thing? Oh, there's one of the things that people with social anxiety do is they ruminate. So after an encounter, they go,
Yeah.
what did I say that was wrong? How did I embarrass myself? And I do that constantly. I had a meeting yesterday and I spent the whole day today. It went really well, but I spent the whole day today thinking of everything I said that was wrong and how they were probably like, once they left the meeting, they were probably like, actually, I didn't like her at all. No, I didn't like her at all. I'm just like, they hated me.
But that's where like I can't, because this is where like doesn't it feel like everything we've learned about just kind of like, is that OCD? Because that rumination can be OCD. Is that just normal anxiety? Just the fact that leaving the house, like, so it's just like this is where, and there's various levels. So like this is where like they talk about there's extreme social anxiety where you really are like, I don't want to leave the house, I don't want to talk to anybody, but some of it is just certain situations. So like for me, I would say it's mostly big gatherings, like crowds and stuff like that. So that's anything from like a concert to like a party where it's a bunch of people. I'm not saying I don't have like, and it's also changed. I really think therapy and being more confident as a speaker. So like I remember early, because like the only parties I went to for the most part was these Christmas parties that you felt like you had to go to in New York City because you had to go to the booker and be like, thank you for booking me, please continue to book me. Like it was like this kind of, and I would say just go for 45 minutes. I would set a timer, and if I made it to 45 minutes, I was like, you can have cookies. Like I was like, high five. Like I genuinely like an animal would be like, if you get to 45 minutes, you can go home and you could eat whatever you want. Like just do, because it's for work.
Interesting if you put something after the event, like I always give myself like okay, just do the show and then you can get some pad thai. And I'm always like, ooh, whatever.
Ooh,
but like I
thai.
have something after the event that I can look forward to. So that like during it, I'm going, yeah, but whatever, I'm getting pad thai after this.
But isn't that crazy that there's people are like, oh my God, I'm going to a party on Friday, I'm so excited. And they spend the whole week being like, what outfit am I going to wear? And it's a dread of like, okay, I hope this dress still fits. And I think Carmen's going to be there. So if I've purposely, like me and Carmen, like that's the best thing about having a friend that you can be like, hey, please don't leave my side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whether it's like somebody you're dating, like I remember dating, I'd be like, I don't know anybody's name, so this is how you're going to help me in this. Also, you cannot make friends on your own. Like you cannot leave me. You are here with me. Like this is your job. And then even with Carmen, I'd be like, how long are we staying? And I will say, can I be clingy? And she'll be like, absolutely. Or like, there'll be times that I'm just like, do you need space? And she's like, no, you're fine. But like, I don't like being alone at parties. I don't even like going into the party by myself. Like I would wait for Carmen outside and then we would go in together because my fear is that I have nobody to talk to, or like, and I don't know if it's comedy stuff. You just start talking about stuff you don't care about. Like, I don't know. There's people I'm excited to see at clubs and see at parties. And then for the most part, if I like you, I talk to you already. I don't need to go to a party.
Yeah, it's it's funny. I went to a writing club the other day and I made myself go. I was like, I don't want to go to this shit. Cancel it. By the way, like writing clubs, I don't get them because you write for an hour and then you can share if you want. But I'm like, why would I share something I've written over the hour? Like it's going to be garbage. I don't. So anyway, there was a lot of good stuff too. And I was like, well, good on you. Maybe that's what going to write club is like so much practice you get good at writing in an hour. But yeah, it was like I get really socially anxious when they go, we're going to go around and introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking comedian and that makes me anxious as fuck.
Cannot do it.
Yeah.
Like I had a meeting and everybody had to introduce themselves. Nobody's in comedy or whatever. It was just like general meeting. And I was like, I work at night and I have a cat. And like
You're a prostitute or something. Why don't you just
No,
tell me?
I did. I sounded like a lonely prostitute. I work at night for a little bit of money, and I have a cat, and don't ask me what I do. But I like in general, I've initial getting to know people. Once the laugh happens, this is how I feel on stage, both on stage and in a social interactions. As soon as I get a laugh, half of that goes away.
Oh yeah.
I would say anywhere from 50 to 70% of that anxiety goes away. That first laugh does everything. And that's with every interaction. So like I remember this was a couple weeks ago. I was just buying a skirt. I was meeting Prakash and he was late, which is kind of hilarious. He was late. I went into a store. I ended up seeing this skirt like this, like it's actually a skirt that like a type of skirt you would wear. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be cute like Maria.
Oh.
So it really was. It's like a skirt I've been looking for like 3 years. I was like, it's a Maria skirt. So I find this skirt. It's on sale. I'm literally just waiting for Prakash. And I'm talking to the guy and I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just being stupid. And he's laughing. And I was like, oh my God, am I in love with this man? Like I was like, I have a new skirt. I have a boyfriend now. But like, that's because of that skill set. I went from being super scared to interact with people to now having a little bit of belief in myself and knowing that the right type of person can bring that anxiety down. But the worst is when you go in and you hit a wall and you're like, and it just, not only does that anxiety stay, it gets increased. You're like, oh no, I have to be here all night and talk to these boring people. Like, no. Like, and it'll get worse.
Yeah. 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 Cause I have a hard time talking. Yeah, if the conversation's boring, I either have to click with someone. I'm sure a lot of people like that, but I'm not the type of person who can just talk to people and be like, oh, like let's get some information out of you and like pretend to care. And so it's just like I have to click with you, and if I don't click with you, I'm having a rough time.
Yeah.
Because you could be the most interesting person in the world. I was talking to someone the other day. They were incredibly interesting. They had they were smart. They had great stuff to say, but I didn't click with them, so I didn't know how to. The conversation was like, like we were chugging
Yeah.
along. But they didn't flow.
There are times where like, so we've learned of set of skills that sometimes you just want to be like, pause. You're bad at this. And if you just make this little adjustment, we'd be flowing right now. Do you want to be there's just some times where I'm just like, you're so close to being fun. Can I just help you? Like you just, but I will say this, I think my social anxiety was at like a 7 or 8 when I was like in my teens and my 20s, and between therapy and being more confident in myself and my career, and also just having an interesting career, I will tell you that's a game changer. More people want to talk to us than not. If you go in and you're just like, I make the bottom of shoe soles, they'd be like, oh, is there a lot of money in that? Like, where do you go from there? But like most people, everybody has a favorite comedian. Everybody knows what comedy is. Everybody's like, that's a cool job. So that does kind of, smooth things over, but that doesn't mean like, then you keep going and then I get trapped and stuff. And I don't want to do a podcast with people. That's the other thing. It's like, I
haven't told anyone in my class I'm taking that I'm a comedian. Like, I'm just never going to tell them.
No, and that's one of the reasons I kind of keep it more vague is I'd rather learn what they do. I'd rather it be an authentic conversation. And then maybe we talk about comedy, but how quickly it goes to literally a podcast. How'd you get into that? How long have you been doing that?
What's
Who's
it like
your
being
favorite
a woman
comedian?
in comedy?
It's just exhausting.
Yeah.
Why have I never heard of you? I don't know, because things are hard, Brad. But just to get into some of the nitty gritty.
That was the rhythm I was talking to you about yesterday. How you're like, patience, fuck off.
I'm like so nice until I'm not nice. And I'm just like, people. Okay. So some social interactions that kind of can cause social anxiety, or some, not cause anxiety, some symptoms, blushing, nausea, excessive sweating, trembling or shaking, difficulty speaking, dizziness, lightheadedness, rapid heartbeat. I don't have too many physical signs. I'll sometimes get like really hot. But most of them are like the psychological symptoms. So like worrying intensely about social situations, worrying for days or weeks before an event, avoiding social situations or trying to blend into the background if you must attend, worrying about embarrassing yourself in social situations, worrying that other people will notice you're stressed out or nervous, needing alcohol to face a social situation, missing school or work because of anxiety. So like, I don't have too many physical symptoms. I mostly have the psychological. Would you say the same or?
I know I get rapid heart rate. I definitely
Okay.
like my heart will start racing. Having a meeting yesterday, I was definitely like, all right, you got to calm yourself down. But
Yeah.
I mean, like that's a meeting. And I think anybody like who was going into an interview or a meeting or a situation like that, a date, that's a normal feeling. So I wouldn't call that social anxiety, but definitely when I was waiting tables and people would walk in, my heart would start racing. Like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's embellishing things where it's just like, like if every day you talk to somebody for your job and it never goes away, that seems a little crazy. Like that's where like it never, so like I still get nervous sometimes doing shows, but like most of the time I'm not. Sometimes I'll get nervous and I don't even understand why. Like it makes sense to me before an audition to be nervous, but sometimes it's just a normal show and I'm like, what am I picking up on? Is it like the fact that there's more dudes in the audience or that they're talkative and I think it's going to be a fight? Like sometimes I'm like, why am I nervous
you're
right
picking
now?
up on something from the audience. I get nervous before a show, like at Top Secret, which is a club I love and I always do well at, and everyone does well at. It's a great club, but sometimes I'll be sitting in the little cubby under the stairs where they stick their comedians, but they have headshots all over the wall of famous comedians. And so people would come down the stairs and go, oh my God, so-and-so's been here. Oh, holy shit, this person's been here. Oh, a lot of people have been coming to this club or whatever. And then you're like, that makes me nervous because I'm just like, oh, and then I'm going to show up. Like,
Yeah.
who the fuck is this?
I'm not famous.
Yeah.
So a few things so they say like it can be environmental factors and genetics plus like negative experiences that cause it. So like bullying, family conflict, and like sexual abuse. But what I find interesting is when they say genetics, they're not really sure if it is genetic. What they think it might be is that your parents have anxiety and they just teach you to have anxiety. Like it's more like you just kind of picking up on it. So it's while it might run in the family, it's like technically more that you're being raised. And the other thing is you can develop because you're being raised by somebody that's controlling and overprotective, which I think we both kind of dealt with in our upbringing.
I'd say.
Okay, so treatments: cognitive behavioral therapy, which we've talked about, exposure therapy, which we've talked about, group therapy, which we've talked about. But then there's also avoiding caffeine. I think in general, a lot of people with anxiety have noticed that caffeine actually makes things worse. Getting plenty of sleep, which is just dumb. Everybody should get plenty of sleep. And then there are specific medications for anxiety: Paxil, Zoloft, Efferner XR. I don't know that one, but then also all the ones that people kind of know about. So like Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan, Valium. The problem with those last four is that they're highly addictive. So they can be both a pretty aggressive sedative, but also while they work really quickly, like they fix the problem pretty quickly, they can become addictive. So most people don't prescribe them for they only prescribe them from short amount of time. So even I've taken Xanax, but it's like I've taken it 3 times and it's like I'm having a panic attack, or like it's like a situational thing, as opposed to it's not something you can really take every day, nor do I want to be addicted to it. But I will say this: I wonder if the addiction is just the fact that it works so well. Like creepy well, to the point where you're like, is this what my brain's supposed to be like? Because if everybody's like this is unfair.
I've always felt like drugs are like looking at the back of the book for the answers, and you go, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel. This is how like if everything were in balance and all my hormones were correct, this is how it's supposed, I'm supposed to feel. This is a shortcut.
This is the correct childhood upbringing. But and we've talked about panic attacks and like panic disorder, but like I mostly reserve medication for like break the glass, like emergency kind of things. But I think if this is debilitating, like you cannot function, you don't have a social life. Like I don't think neither of us have it bad that we can't go to work and that it's more like extracurricular things we don't want to go to. It's not so bad that I don't go to work. It might be so bad that I'm not making the friends I could have made. And I feel like, especially earlier in
me.
I did. I got the best friends anyway. I just picked up my other social anxiety friends. So that also don't want to leave the apartment. So I think it all just kind of worked out. But if anybody does have social anxiety, we'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to hear like if it's gotten better over the years, if there's like tricks or things that you've learned, if medication helped. But we'd love to hear your stories about social anxiety. So you can write to us. Where can they write to us, Maria?
You can write to us at twonondoctors@gmail.com. That's the number 2, full word doctors. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.